This is a video on how to lower your iBEX 800. This is a 2026 Explorer model. It applies to all the other 800s, the MT. We're going to do the front second. First, we're going to do the back. You have to remove the shock. And to remove the shock, you're going to need to remove this 5mm hex head and this one. This one is just in the swing arm. To get to this screw, you have to pull the brake line out. Once you do that, you can take the screw out, leave the ABS connected. The bracket will float free. It's a real pain in the ass to get it out and in, and you might damage it. On the left side, you're going to have 1, 2, and 3 5mm hex heads. Once those are out, put the cover on the side and you'll have access to the nut on this side and a hex head bolt on the other side. It's a fairly large one. I forgot what size. It's like 8, 10, 12. But be ready. You do need some tools, by the way. I have metric sockets. I have extensions. Now, I have a short ratchet, but I have a little longer ratchet because some of the torques are high enough that that short ratchet is kind of tough. I do recommend torque wrenches. I'm not trying to show off my 3 cheap torque wrenches, but this one is not cheap, but it's for smaller mounts. It's only up to 300 inch-pounds or 25 foot-pounds. You definitely need these Allen key set to get this shock out for sure. To get the top bolts, you have to take this cover off, one screw, and then you have to pop out a little pin that's in a rubber grommet. And then there's 2 sliding catches up here, and you have to pull it out and slide it back. The top bolt is up here, and it's recessed very far, so this is where you'll need a socket and an extension, and I recall it was 15 millimeters. And before you take the shock out, you do need to put it on a center stand and support the tire. Once the shock is out, you're going to need to mount the aftermarket ring. It's about 0.3 inches deeper than the stock one, and this is what the stock one looks like. It just has one step. If you can see in this picture, there's multiple steps. You can buy this anywhere. You know, Chinese R Us from anywhere from like $15 all the way up to $39. Here's the number one big tip I'm going to tell you. Absolutely do not try and compress this spring to get the saddle out, which is down here, yourself. I tried. I bought a spring compressor. It barely fit. The spaces are so small, and the spring coil diameter is so thick, it's hard to get anything in there. And it's under a tremendous amount of load. The one I had a screw, and you had to turn it with a wrench. The force to turn it was so much, it was dangerous. I was successful in getting the old one out, but to get the new one out, I would have had to compress the spring another 3/10. Not doing it. So I brought it to the shop. They were nice. They were told me it was going to be 30 bucks. They ended up not charging me. And they installed the new saddle or perch, whatever you want to call it. And I do not recommend you doing it yourself unless you have very specialized tools that fit. And I also succeeded in scratching up the protective coating on the spring. Now onwards to the front. This one's pretty easy, but you have to be aware. Right now I have 5 rings showing, which is about a 1/2 inch. It came from the dealer with 2 rings showing, which kind of jives with the suspension travel. The advertised suspension travel is 6.3, and I measured 6.1. So whatever reason they set it up already lowered in the front by 0.2 of an inch. These rings are really nice, and the access to these bolts is a little difficult, but with an angle Allen key wrench, you can do it. The problem is it's difficult to torque it to a precise value. You've got 1 at the top, and then you've got 2 on the bottom, and to torque it is a little difficult. Now, I have extension, a universal joint torque wrenches, but it's just not easy to do. So I use a German method of torque called the Guten Tight. So you just reef down on these. Now we'll go over torques in a second, but basically that's how you lower your bike. The rear suspension and the front suspension. Now we'll get into a little more detail. So this is what you're after, a lower seat height. You do read different things online, what's published and what is actually measured. And I did some measurements and there were some discrepancies, but 32.5 is the advertised, and that's pretty much what I measured by that hashtag. So 32.5 is what my bike was when I got it home. The ground clearance was 9. I've seen some people report 7.5. No, it's 9 stock. Now, what's the end result of all the stuff I did? Well, first of all, this is factory 32.5. Lowering the rear shock and the front forks got it down a full inch. And that's with the bike laden. Nothing on it, just standing upright, compressing the suspension slightly. The seat, now this is a lowered seat. I got it off of Chinese R Us. It was good for a 1/2 inch, and it is heated, and it works, and it costs $200. So this is what I'm going to tell you. This lowering perch doesn't change linkage like you get in some bikes. It actually just reduces the preload on the spring, which allows the bike to settle more when you stand it upright and when you sit on it. Now, we'll go over the presets and how to set the suspension up. But just to go over a few things, advertised 6.3 inches in the front, 5.9 in the back. You'll notice something that we'll go over, but the shock only has 2 inches of travel. So that's a 3-to-1 ratio of shock movement to wheel movement. So you're starting to get a picture of why that spring preload is so high. After lowering, you lose about, you lose about 0.3 of an inch. I have 5.7, but again, that's with weight on the wheels, with the bike standing upright. The rear, about 5.2 approximately. So you lose about 0.9 inches. So this leads into the question, do you even want to do this? So I have about a 30.5 inch inseam. And obviously inseam from the bottom of my heel to my crotch. If you wear boots, you add an inch, but then when you're sitting on the seat, your legs are splayed out. So with me on it, with the suspension even more compressed, I have the full half balls of my feet on the ground, both sides. Completely flat-footed with just shifting a little bit to one side or the other. It's very comfortable. Now, I can ride taller bikes, and I have. So before you do this, if you're right on the edge of doing, of saying, I'd like to have it a little lower, maybe consider the seat. They advertise 20 millimeters. I only got about 13 millimeters lower out of that seat. Maybe they're including compressing the foam. That's possible. So that'll lower it a little bit. And also consider lowering the preload on the shock and the forks. That will allow the bike to settle more.